Young and the Restless early spoilers June 30th to July 4th. Phyllis's big win and Kyle's betrayal sparks drama. As we always do on early edition day, we start with what is coming the rest of this week to get you all set up for next week. Young and the Restless spoilers. Chelsea's concerns and Adam's worries at Newman offices. So with that in mind, Wednesday, June 25th, we have got Chelsea Lawson Newman, Melissa Claire Egan, finding Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, stressing out at the Newman offices because Daddy Victor Newman, Eric Braden, is not answering his calls and he hasn't replied to the messages that he has left. So, Adam is initially worried that Victor could be angry and ignoring him over the Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson stuff. But then Adam decides there may be more to it because he also tried to reach Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, and Sharon Newman, Sharon Case. Got no answers, no responses from anybody, which is strange. It seems like at least one person would reply. So, Adam tells Chelsea that Dumas, aka Kane Ashby Billy Flynn, which they don't seem to know that part of it yet, is making big power moves. He's buying up a bunch of commercial real estate properties and businesses surrounding both Newman and Abbott properties. It sounds like he is circling them both like a shark. International intrigue, Kane's plans in France and Phyllis's ambitions. Meanwhile, over in France, Kane tells Amanda Sinclair, Miss Hale Morgan, that Victor turned him down on the Chancellor offer, but he honestly expected that outcome, and he's got other plans in motion. Amanda is in full support of Kane's efforts, and Phyllis interrupts to say she won't underestimate him, and she begs for time with Kane and gets a whopping whole entire 10 minutes to pitch to him. So Phyllis talks to Kane about her running Chancellor once he takes it over with Amanda at her side, and Phyllis is stroking Kane's ego and flattering him. And Phyllis also offers to show him around town once they're back home because things have changed a lot. That way he can get the lay of the land from an insider. Meanwhile, Amanda is really irritated that Phyllis dragged her name into it because Kane was kind of surprised and asked her, "Whoa, you want a different job?" And Amanda's like, no, she's annoyed and tells Kane that Phyllis is desperate. And of course, Red denies it. And Kane rejects the idea of Phyllis at Chancellor. He has a whole different concept in mind, but he does promise to think about her proposal overnight. After he leaves, Amanda rants at Phyllis, calling her selfish for running her mouth like that, and having Amanda's name in her mouth at all while talking to her boss, which is very typical Phyllis, though. Relationship turmoil, Lily's sleepless nights and Damien's frustration. Meanwhile, in the train car, Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, cannot sleep. She keeps recalling some past harsh talks with Kane about his dad, Colin, and their kids. She didn't want the kids near them, and Kane's attitude was they're adults. They can decide. So Lily gets up out of bed because she just can't sleep and finds Damien Kane, Jermaine Rivers, is also up. So Lily plays poker and cleans him out, and then they play Go Fish, and he does a little better at that. They're just passing the time because neither can sleep. And Damien tells her he can tell Kane wants her back, but Lily says she is not interested. And Lily also says that they plan to leave tomorrow. You know, Devin Hamilton, Brighton James, Abby Newman, Melissa Ordway, all of them. And Lily makes it clear she doesn't want to stick around and let Kane think that he's got any chance with her. So Lily just thinks he has turned out just like his awful dad, Colin Atkinson. And then guess what? Damien's ready to go home too. He's tired of the games. You know, he never knew that Dumas was her ex-husband. And so he's just frustrated over it. Ready to go back, probably ready to see his mom, Amy Lewis, Valerie Pettiford. Temptation and schemes, Kyle's dilemma and Billy's plan against Kane. On Thursday, June 26th, we have Kyle getting all riled up by Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver. She's getting under his skin. She's in a cute little bikini, getting all flirty, and she wants Kyle to rub her down with her Jabot birthday suit sunscreen. Sounds like she's offering to show him her birthday suit. I do wonder if Lily and Devin are going to observe any of this and report back to Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, once they're back to town. So Kyle does seem tempted by Audra. There's no cell service. He can't talk to his girlfriend. There's lots of booze. Yeah. Plus Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope, and Billy hatch a scheme against Kane, and I wonder if Billy is going to again go after Chancellor to keep it out of both Victor and Kane's hands. He is not a fan of the guy who pretended to be his brother. Unexpected connections, Claire and Holden's growing bond. Meanwhile, back in town, Claire Grace Newman, Haley Aaron, gets a rescue by Holden Novak, Nathan Owens. And they're having a weird sort of vibe this week. So Claire and Holden are drinking at the GCAC bar. They're doing their usual drink of Vespers. And Claire's talking about how it's fortunate that she ran into Holden, and he feels like he's lucky for running into her. So I don't know if the rescue comes before this semi-flirty conversation or after they are boozing. Claire kind of looks upset. Maybe there's some news about her dad, Cole. Confrontations and bold moves. Nick's demands and Lily's decision. On Friday, June 27th, Nick demands answers from Kane. And remember, he said he was going to go around and have conversations with everybody. So, this may be during their one-on-one. And of course, Nick is worried that his mom Nikki could lose Chancellor and is going to be collateral damage in whatever war games that Kane is cooking up. Sharon and Phyllis get an awful reminder of their recent traumatic experience. So, could be something that reminds them of when they were held captive by awful Martin Laurent, Christopher Cousins. And it could be that the weather is taking a big turn. I seem to remember something about a storm when they were held captive. Lily makes a bold move with Damien on Young and the Restless. So, we may get some Lily and Damien romance with them soon. Lily is fuming at Kane. She doesn't want to be around him. So, Damien may be who she turns to for comfort, especially when things take a turn in France the following week. The week ahead, murder mystery, stormy weather, and romantic entanglements. So, the week of June 30th through July 4th, we've got Chancellor Connor Floyd looking into Kane's claims that his life is at risk. And someone is really in danger at the party because a murder mystery takes over. And it could be when dark skies set in because a big storm takes over the area that they're in France, making things creepier, more uncomfortable. It shuts down transportation in and out. And this may be when the killer strikes. And of course, Adam shows up in the midst of all this. So, Chance could actually be the murder victim, because Connor Floyd recently left YandR to take over Billy Flynn's old job, playing Chad DiMera on Days of Our Lives. So, maybe Chance plays hero and he gets hurt. We'll see. Damien and Lily may be heating up as lightning tears across the sky, trapped, no way to leave. Plus, she's mad at Kane. So, this could be Damien's big chance to get a real romance. Is about to be rocked by a victory so massive it changes the balance of power. Yet the celebration will be painfully short-lived. In classic Young and the Restless fashion, a stunning big win sets the stage for heartbreak, betrayal, and consequences no one sees coming. At the center of the storm? Kyle Abbott, whose shocking betrayal threatens to destroy not just business alliances, but family bonds that may never fully recover. As the lines between loyalty and ambition blur, one thing becomes clear. This one comes at a devastating cost. A victory that shakes Genoa City. The drama begins with a monumental triumph that sends shockwaves through the corporate elite of Genoa City. Whether it's a decisive business takeover, a crushing legal victory, or a power move that no one thought possible, this win marks a turning point. The air is electric as champagne corks pop and smiles stretch wide, but beneath the surface, tension simmers. Jack Abbott can barely hide his pride. After weeks of high-stakes maneuvering, Abbott Enterprises finally stands tall, silencing critics and rivals alike. For Jack, this win represents more than money or influence, it's validation. Proof that the Abbott legacy still matters. But while Jack basks in the glow of success, others are already asking the uncomfortable question. How exactly did this victory happen? Kyle Abbott, loyal son or calculated traitor? At first, Kyle appears to be right where he belongs, by his father's side, celebrating the win with confidence and charm. But early spoilers hint that Kyle's role in this triumph isn't as heroic as it seems. Behind closed doors, secrets unravel. Sources suggest Kyle made a move that crossed a line, a quiet decision that ensured victory but violated trust. Whether he leaked critical information, cut a backdoor deal, or aligned with the enemy just long enough to secure the upper hand, Kyle's actions scream betrayal. The most shocking part? Kyle may have convinced himself it was necessary. In his mind, the ends justified the means. But in Genoa City, betrayal always comes with a price. Jack's pride turns to fury. The fallout is swift and brutal when Jack learns the truth. What was once pride morphs into rage as Jack realizes Kyle didn't just bend the rules, he shattered them. This wasn't clever strategy, it was a betrayal of everything Jack stands for. The confrontation between father and son is explosive, packed with raw emotion and decades of unresolved tension. Jack accuses Kyle of tarnishing the Abbott name. Kyle fires back, insisting he did what Jack couldn't, what Jack wouldn't do to win. The argument cuts deep, dredging up old wounds about legacy, expectations, and whether Kyle has ever truly been trusted. By the end of the showdown, the damage is undeniable. The Abbott family fractures once more, leaving Jack questioning if his son is becoming someone he no longer recognizes. Diane and Summer caught in the crossfire. As Kyle's betrayal comes to light, the women closest to him are forced to choose sides. Diane Jenkins, fiercely protective and always calculating, rushes to defend her son. She frames Kyle's actions as brilliance rather than betrayal, arguing that in a ruthless world, morality is a luxury. But her defense only fuels the fire, reminding Jack of every reason he's struggled to trust her. Meanwhile, Summer Newman finds herself blindsided. Summer believed in Kyle, not just as a partner, but as a man who shared her values. The revelation shakes her to the core. She questions everything. Was Kyle ever truly honest with her? Or was she just another pawn in his game? Spoilers tease a heartbreaking moment where Summer confronts Kyle, demanding the truth. What she hears may push their already fragile relationship to the brink. Love in Genoa City can survive many things, but betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from someone you trust completely. Victor Newman smells blood in the water. No corporate war in Genoa City goes unnoticed by Victor Newman. The moment Victor senses internal chaos at Abbott Enterprises, he circles like a shark. While others reel from Kyle's betrayal, Victor sees opportunity. He quietly orders his people to dig, convinced there's more beneath the surface. If Kyle thinks his secret is contained, he's dead wrong. Victor knows exactly how to exploit division, and he may soon use Kyle's actions as leverage, forcing him into a dangerous alliance that could change the game forever. One misstep, and Kyle could find himself trapped between Newman power plays and Abbott consequences. The win that becomes a curse. What makes this storyline especially devastating is the irony. The very when everyone celebrated becomes the source of their undoing. Employees begin whispering. Allies grow wary. Trust erodes. The victory that was meant to solidify dominance instead exposes cracks in the foundation. And as pressure mounts, Kyle starts to feel the weight of his choices. Is success worth losing the people who matter most? Early spoilers hint that Kyle will soon face a crossroads, one that forces him to decide whether to double down on ambition or attempt to repair the damage he's done. Redemption may be possible, but only if Kyle is willing to take responsibility for his betrayal. What happens next? As Genoa City braces for the fallout, one thing is certain. This story is far from over. Jack may be forced to make a heartbreaking decision about his son's future at the company. Summer could walk away, leaving Kyle to face the consequences alone. And Victor's looming presence ensures that no secret stays buried for long. In true Young and the Restless fashion, love, power, and loyalty collide, proving once again that in Genoa City, every big win comes with devastating consequences. Buckle up, because Kyle's betrayal has only just begun to shake the town, and the aftershocks will be felt for months. Newman Enterprises shimmered under the afternoon sun, but inside the executive suites, the mood was anything but bright. Tension crackled through the air like a storm waiting to break, and at the center of it all were Chelsea Lawson and Adam Newman. Two people who knew each other far too well and feared exactly where things were headed. Chelsea stood just outside Adam's office, clutching a tablet she hadn't read in 10 minutes. Her thoughts were spinning, her instincts screaming that something was wrong. Adam had been different lately, quieter, more guarded, and far too focused on damage control instead of forward momentum. And when Adam Newman stopped scheming and started worrying, it usually meant trouble was already knocking at the door. Inside, Adam stared at the Newman Enterprises skyline from behind his desk, jaw tight, shoulders tense. The weight of his last conversation with Victor Newman pressed heavily on him. His father hadn't raised his voice, he hadn't needed to. Victor's calm disappointment was always far more dangerous than his fury. Adam knew he was on thin ice. Chelsea finally knocked and stepped inside without waiting for an answer. One look at Adam's face confirmed her fears. "You look like you're waiting for the axe to fall," she said carefully. Adam forced a smirk. "Always good to see your optimism hasn't changed." Chelsea didn't smile back. She moved closer, lowering her voice. "Victor's circling, isn't he?" Adam exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. "He's watching every move I make. Every decision. And if I slip, even once, he'll use it as proof that I never deserved this job." Chelsea's concern deepened. She'd seen this pattern before. Adam fighting for legitimacy. Victor dangling approval, just out of reach. And Newman Enterprises becoming the battlefield where Adam's self-worth was either validated or destroyed. "But that's not all," Chelsea pressed. "Something else is going on. I can feel it." Adam hesitated, and that hesitation told Chelsea everything. "There's talk of a restructuring," Adam admitted. "Victor claims it's about efficiency, but I know better. He's setting a trap." Chelsea's heart sank. "For you?" For anyone who doesn't toe the Newman line, Adam replied. Including you. That stopped her cold. Adam, why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I don't have proof, he snapped, immediately regretting his tone. His voice softened. And because the last thing I want is to drag you into another Newman war. Chelsea folded her arms, hurt flickering across her face. You don't get to decide that for me. Silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken history. Love, betrayal, forgiveness, and unfinished business. Chelsea had rebuilt her life more times than she could count, and every time Adam was involved, the stakes felt higher. I'm worried about you, Chelsea admitted. You're pushing yourself too hard. You're not sleeping. You're barely eating. And now Victor's tightening the noose. Adam's eyes darkened. I won't let him win. Chelsea stepped closer. That's exactly what scares me. Before Adam could respond, the door swung open. Victor Newman himself stood there, cane in hand, gaze sharp and assessing. The room seemed to shrink under his presence. Well, Victor said coolly, this looks cozy. Chelsea stiffened. Adam straightened instantly, the son reverting to the soldier under his father's scrutiny. Is there a problem? Adam asked. Victor's eyes flicked to Chelsea. That depends. Are personal relationships interfering with business again? Chelsea bristled, but Adam spoke first. Chelsea is a valued consultant. Her presence here is professional. Victor arched an eyebrow. Is it? The tension was suffocating. Chelsea could feel Victor probing, searching for weakness. And she knew Adam could feel it too. The familiar pressure, the unspoken threat. I'll leave you two to discuss whatever this is, Chelsea said finally, though every instinct told her not to walk away. She looked back at Adam. We'll talk later. As the door closed behind her, Adam turned to his father, his guard firmly in place. You're concerned, Victor said flatly. That's not a good sign. I'm cautious, Adam replied. There's a difference. Victor stepped closer. You're distracted. Emotional. And that makes you vulnerable. Adam clenched his fists. Or human. Victor's expression hardened. This is Newman Enterprises, not a therapy session. If you can't handle the pressure, I'll find someone who can. Adam met his father's stare, defiance flickering in his eyes. I can handle it. But I won't destroy everyone around me just to prove a point. Victor studied him for a long moment. Careful, Adam. That kind of thinking is exactly why you fail. Later, Chelsea stood by the elevators, heart pounding. She sensed the storm wasn't just coming. It had already begun. Adam was being cornered, and history had taught her that when Adam felt threatened, he was capable of reckless decisions. And worse, she feared he might be preparing to sacrifice himself, or her, to survive. As the elevator doors closed, Chelsea made a silent vow. Whatever Victor was planning, she wouldn't let Adam face it alone. Not this time, because at Newman Enterprises, power was everything. And love was always the most dangerous liability. Kane Ashby stepped off the plane in Paris, he knew there was no turning back. The crisp winter air felt like both a fresh start and a warning. Genoa City was thousands of miles away, yet the choices he'd made there still clung to him like a shadow. France wasn't just a business trip, it was a calculated escape, a gamble that could either restore his legacy or destroy what little trust he had left. Kane had told almost everyone the same carefully rehearsed story. International expansion, new investors, a chance to rebuild after everything that had gone wrong. But the truth was far more complicated, and far more dangerous. Back in Genoa City, Phyllis Summers sensed it immediately. Kane's sudden move overseas wasn't just suspicious, it was strategic. And if there was one thing Phyllis hated more than being lied to, it was being left out of the game. Phyllis thrived on information. Power followed knowledge, and she had made an entire career out of knowing things before anyone else did. When she heard whispers about Kane courting powerful European financiers with deep pockets and even deeper secrets, her instincts flared. This wasn't just about Kane rebuilding his empire. This was about leverage that could reshape the corporate battlefield in Genoa City. And Phyllis wanted in. While Kane navigated candlelit boardrooms and hushed conversations in Paris, Phyllis was back home making moves of her own. She began reconnecting with old contacts, quietly probing for intel about international mergers and offshore investments tied to Kane's name. Each clue pointed to one unsettling conclusion. Kane wasn't just planning a comeback, he was positioning himself to strike. The question was, who was his real target? Kane's nights in France were restless. The glamour of Paris did little to soothe his conscience. Each deal he considered came with strings attached, strings that could tighten around his neck if he wasn't careful. He told himself he was doing this for his family, for redemption, for a future where he wouldn't always be defined by his mistakes. Yet deep down, Kane knew ambition was driving him just as much as desperation. The investors he met weren't naive. They wanted influence in American markets, access to companies in Genoa City, and allies willing to play dirty. Kane listened, nodded, and negotiated, all while weighing the cost of crossing lines he had sworn he'd never cross again. Meanwhile, Phyllis's ambitions were burning hotter than ever. She had tasted power before, real power, and she wasn't about to fade quietly into the background while men like Kane made bold international plays. If Kane was building something overseas, Phyllis intended to figure out how it could benefit her, or how she could dismantle it if necessary. Her mind kept circling back to one tantalizing possibility. What if Kane's French connections could destabilize Newman Enterprises, or even Chancellor Winters? The idea thrilled her. Chaos had always been Phyllis's secret weapon, and she knew exactly how to exploit it. But ambition comes with risks, and Phyllis wasn't blind to them. She understood that getting too close to Kane's operation could put her directly in the crosshairs of powerful people who didn't tolerate interference. Still, backing down had never been her style. Instead, she leaned in, pushing harder, asking sharper questions, and quietly aligning herself with anyone who could help her get ahead. As days turned into weeks, Kane began to feel the pressure closing in. Rumors reached him that Phyllis was sniffing around his business affairs. The thought unsettled him more than he expected. Phyllis Summers was unpredictable, brilliant, and ruthless when she needed to be. If she uncovered the full scope of his plans, she could either become his most dangerous enemy or his most valuable ally. And that scared him. Kane faced a choice. Keep Phyllis in the dark and risk her sabotaging everything, or bring her into the fold and trust her not to burn him the moment it suited her ambitions. Neither option felt safe. Back in Genoa City, Phyllis sensed Kane's hesitation like blood in the water. She knew he was at a crossroads, and she intended to be standing right in the middle of it when he made his next move. Her ambitions weren't just about climbing the corporate ladder. They were about proving, once and for all, that she was still a force to be reckoned with. Late one night, as rain lashed against the windows of a Paris hotel, Kane stared at his phone, contemplating a call he wasn't sure he should make. Phyllis's name hovered on the screen, a reminder that no matter how far he traveled, Genoa City and its power players were never truly behind him. Phyllis, meanwhile, sat in her office, equally restless, convinced that Kane's silence was temporary. She knew men like Kane. Sooner or later, they always needed something, and when that moment came, she'd be ready. Their paths were on a collision course, one fueled by ambition, secrets, and the promise of power. Kane's plans in France and Phyllis's relentless drive were about to collide in ways neither of them fully understood. And when they did, the fallout wouldn't just change their lives, it would send shockwaves through Genoa City that no one could ignore. One thing was certain. In the game they were playing, only the bold would survive, and neither Kane Ashby nor Phyllis Summers had ever been accused of playing a stranger to Lily Winters. Night after night, she lay awake in the quiet of her penthouse, staring at the ceiling as the city lights flickered beyond the glass. Genoa City never truly slept, but neither did Lily anymore. The ticking clock on her bedside table sounded louder than it should, each second a reminder that time was slipping through her fingers, along with her peace of mind. Her thoughts kept circling back to the same unresolved questions. Was she making the right choices? Had she sacrificed too much for stability, for control, for a version of success that now felt hollow? Lily had built an empire on discipline and clarity, yet lately her mind was anything but clear. Across town, Damien was just as restless. Only his frustration burned hot instead of quiet. He paced his loft, jaw clenched, replaying his last conversation with Lily over and over. She'd been distant again. Polite. Guarded. The woman who once met his intensity with her own fire now spoke in carefully measured sentences, as if every word had been vetted by an invisible boardroom. Damien slammed his hand against the counter, the sound echoing through the room. "This isn't her," he muttered. "Or maybe it is, and I just refused to see it." Back in Lily's bedroom, she finally sat up, wrapping her robe tightly around herself. Sleep was a lost cause. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, the screen lighting up with Damien's name. She let it ring. Lily hated herself for it, but she couldn't deal with his anger. Not when she barely understood her own emotions. Damien wanted answers, explanations, clarity. Lily had none to give. At work the next morning, the exhaustion showed. Lily's eyes were shadowed, her posture rigid as she reviewed reports at her desk. Every line of text blurred together. Numbers danced uselessly on the screen. Control. That was what she prided herself on. But lately even that felt like an illusion. When Damien stormed into her office unannounced, she nearly jumped. "We need to talk," he said sharply, closing the door behind him. Lily didn't look up. "I'm busy." "That's always the excuse," Damien snapped. "You're busy, you're tired, you're distracted, everything except honest." That got her attention. Lily lifted her gaze, her expression cool but wounded. "Careful, Damien." "No, you be careful," he shot back. "You're shutting me out, and I'm done pretending it doesn't matter." The tension between them was thick, years of unresolved emotion pressing down like a weight. Lily stood slowly, crossing her arms. "I don't owe you every thought in my head," she said quietly. "No, but I deserve to know why the woman I care about hasn't slept in weeks and won't tell me why," Damien replied, his voice cracking despite his attempt to sound angry. That stopped her. For a moment, Lily's carefully constructed walls trembled. She looked away, blinking rapidly. "You wouldn't understand." "Try me," Damien said. "Because from where I'm standing, you're drowning and pushing everyone away who wants to help." Lily's composure finally broke. "I lie awake every night thinking about everything I've built, and everything I might lose," she admitted. "I've spent my life proving I'm strong enough, smart enough, disciplined enough. But what if all that strength cost me something I can't get back?" Damien softened, stepping closer. "You don't have to carry it alone." "That's the problem," Lily whispered. "I don't know how not to." Damien exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "Do you have any idea how frustrating it is watching you punish yourself like this? You won't rest. You won't lean on anyone. You won't even admit you're exhausted. Because the moment I stop," Lily said, her voice trembling, "everything I've been holding together might fall apart." Damien reached out, then hesitated. "And what if it doesn't? What if you don't have to be invincible all the time?" Silence filled the office. Lily closed her eyes, tears finally spilling free. These weren't just sleepless nights, they were a reckoning. With her past, with her choices, with the fear that she'd mistaken control for happiness. "I don't know who I am without the fight," she admitted. Damien nodded slowly. "Then maybe it's time to find out." But frustration still lingered beneath his empathy. He loved her, but loving Lily meant standing in the shadow of her ambition, waiting for a space that might never open. As Damien left her office, he paused at the door. "I'm not giving up on you," he said firmly. "But I won't keep chasing someone who refuses to slow down long enough to be real with me." The door closed behind him, leaving Lily alone with her thoughts once again. That night, Lily returned home, the silence heavier than ever. She lay in bed, eyes wide open, replaying Damien's words. For the first time in weeks, she didn't fight the truth clawing its way to the surface. Her sleepless nights weren't about work. They were about fear. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of needing someone. Fear that if she stopped running, she'd finally have to face what she wanted, and who she might lose if she chose it. Across town, Damien stared at his phone, willing it to light up. Frustration warred with hope in his chest. He knew Lily's battles weren't easy, but neither was loving someone who refused to rest. Two restless souls. Two very different kinds of exhaustion. And a reckoning coming that would force them both to decide whether love was worth the risk of finally letting go.